Good morning, class 10. Today we shall start a play. The name of the play is The Proposal. Let us start. A Russian wedding. Do you know anything about a Russian marriage ceremony? Read this article about a Russian wedding. Preparations for a Russian wedding. A Russian wedding is very simple. The planning only includes arranging for rings, bride's dress, cars, and a reception. Earlier, the bride's family paid for the reception, but nowadays, brides and grooms' families usually share expenses. A Russian wedding lasts for 2 days. Some weddings last as long as a week, and the occasion becomes something to remember for years. The necessary part of the wedding ceremony is a wedding procession of several cars. The best friends of the groom or the bride meet before the wedding a few times, make posters, write speeches, and organize contests. When the groom arrives to fetch the bride for the registration, he has to fight to get her. Russians usually live in apartments in tall buildings, and the groom has to climb several stairs to reach his bride. But at each landing, he must answer a question to be allowed to go up. The bride's friends ask difficult questions, sometimes about the bride, sometimes just difficult riddles, and the groom must answer with the help of his friends. For example, he may be shown a few photos of baby girls and he must say which one his bride is. If he guesses wrong, he must pay cash to move ahead. After the marriage registration, the newly married couple leaves the guests for a tour of the city sights. After 2 or 3 hours of the city tour, the couple arrives at the reception. The couple sits at a specially arranged table with their family, friends, and invited guests. The reception starts with toasts to the couple. A wedding toast is a custom where a close friend or relative of the groom or the bride says a few words to wish the couple, then everyone raises their glass of wine and drink it at the same moment. The groom is then asked to kiss the bride. After a few toasts, people start eating and drinking and generally have fun. After some time, the bride gets stolen. She disappears, and when the groom starts looking for her, he is asked to pay a fee. Usually, it is his friends who steal the bride. Then there are the bride's friends. They steal the bride's shoe. The groom must pay money for the shoe too. The guests enjoy watching these tussles and continue partying. So, you have seen that Indian weddings have different customs and traditions. We have different ways to enjoy the wedding. We have different ceremonies, whereas a Russian wedding is somewhat different from the Indian wedding, but there are some of the things which are common as well. Now let us see what the play makes us read. The Proposal, originally titled A Marriage Proposal, is a one-act play, a farce by the Russian short story writer and dramatist Anton Chekhov. It was written in 1888-89. The play is about a tendency of wealthy families to seek ties with other wealthy families to increase their estates by encouraging marriages that make good economic sense. Ivan Lomov, a long-time wealthy neighbor of Stepan Chubukov, also wealthy, comes to seek the hand of Chubukov's 25-year-old daughter Natalia. All these are quarrelsome people, all three are quarrelsome people, and they quarrel over petty issues. The proposal is in danger of being forgotten amidst all these quarreling. But economic good sense ensures that the proposal is made after all, although the quarreling perhaps continues. I think the play is going to be a funny one. Characters. Stepanovich Chubukov, a landowner. Natalia Stepanovna, his daughter, 25 years old. Ivan Vasilievich Lomov, a neighbor of Chubukov, a large and hearty but very suspicious landowner. A drawing room in Chubukov's house. Lomov enters. Who is Lomov? A neighbor of Chubukov. Lomov enters wearing a dress jacket and white gloves. Chubukov rises to meet him. Who is Chubukov? The landowner. Let us see the characters once again. Chubukov is the landowner, Natalia is his daughter who is 25 years old, and Lomov is the neighbor of Chubukov, a large and hearty person but suspicious landowner. So, as Lomov comes, Chubukov stands up to meet him. Chubukov: my dear fellow, whom do I see? Ivan Vasilievich. I am extremely glad. Squeezes his hand. Now, this is a surprise, my darling. How are you? Lomov: thank you. And how may you be getting on? Chubukov: we just get along somehow, my angel. Thanks to your prayers, and so on. Sit down. Please do. Now, you know, you shouldn't forget all about your neighbors, my darling. My dear fellow, why are you so formal in your get-up? That means in your dress. Evening dress, gloves, and so on. Can you be going anywhere, my treasure? Now you can see how many adjectives is Chubukov using for Lomov. My darling, my angel, then again my darling, my dear fellow, my treasure. Lomov: no, I have come only to see you, honored Stepanovich. Chubukov: then why are you in evening dress, my precious? As if you are paying a New Year's Eve visit. Lomov: well, you see, it's like this. Takes his arm. I have come to you, honored Stepanovich, to trouble you with a request. Not once or twice have I already had the privilege of applying to you for help, and you have always, so to speak. See this line again. Not once or twice have I already had the privilege of applying to you for help, and you have always, so to speak. I must ask your pardon. I am getting excited. I shall drink some water. Honored Stepanovich. Chubukov: he is come to borrow money. Shan't give him any. What is it, my beauty? Lomov: you see, honored Stepanich, I beg pardon, Stepan Honorich. I mean, I'm awfully excited. As you will please notice, in short, you alone can help me. Though I don't deserve it, of course, and haven't any right to count on your assistance. That means he has taken his assistance several times earlier also, and haven't any right to count on your assistance. Chubukov. Oh, don't go round and round it, darling. Spit it out. That means don't complicate the case. Whatever you have to say, speak out. Well, one moment. Sorry. Well, Lomov, one moment. This very minute. The fact is, I have come to ask the hand of your daughter, Natalia Stepanovna, Natalia Stepanovna in marriage. So, what did Lomov come to ask for? He did not come to ask for any money, he did not come to ask for anything else, but he says to Chubukov that I have come to ask the hand of your daughter Natalia in marriage. Chubukov. By Jove, Ivan Vasilievich, say it again. I didn't hear it at all. He is not able to believe what he hears. So he is asking him to repeat. I didn't hear it all. Lomov, I have the honor to ask. Chubukov, my dear fellow, I am so glad, and so on. Yes, indeed. And all that sort of thing. Embraces and kisses Lomov. I have been hoping for it for a long time. It's been my continual desire. Sheds a tear. And I have always loved you, my angel, as if you were my own son. So what is the reaction of Chubukov? As Lomov says that I have come to ask for your daughter's hand for marriage, Chubukov is showing his gladness. He is showing that he has been longing for this thing. He has been wanting for the same for a long time. And it appears as if his dream is coming true, and he is shedding tears because he is very, very happy. And he says that I have always loved you as if you were my son. May God give you both His help and His love, and so on, and so much hope. What am I behaving in this idiotic way for? I am off my balance with joy. That means I have lost my mental balance because I am overjoyed. I am off my balance with joy. Absolutely off my balance. Oh, with all my soul, I'll go and call Natasha and all that. Lomov, greatly moved. Honored Stepan Stepanovich, do you think I may count on her consent? That means, do you think I should wait for her consent? Chubukov, why, of course, my darling, and as if she won't consent. He is saying, Chubukov is saying to Lomov that yes, but why are you thinking that she will not give her approval? Why are you doubting this? Why, of course, my darling, and as if she won't consent. She is in love. Egad, she is like a lovesick cat, and so on. Shan't be long. That means soon she is going to give her consent. It will not take long. And he goes. Lomov, it's cold. I am trembling all over. Just as if I had got an examination before me. Why he is trembling? Because he is thinking whether Natalia is going to give her consent or not, whether she will agree to this proposal or not. So he is trembling, and he is saying that it appears to him as if he is going to appear in some exam. I am trembling all over, just as if I had got an examination before me. The great thing is, I must have my mind made up. I must have my mind made up. If I give myself time to think, to hesitate, to talk a lot, to look for an ideal or for real love, then I'll never get married. See what he is saying to himself. I am reading again. The great thing is, I must have my mind made up. I must make up my mind. I must not be perplexed or confused. If I give myself time to think, to hesitate, to talk a lot, to look for an ideal or for real love, then I'll never get married. That means he is saying to himself that he must not think too much. He should not waste a lot of time to think. He must not hesitate in what he wants to say. He must not. He says that if he will look for an ideal situation, if he will look for an ideal time or for an ideal person to marry, if he will long for real love, then he might not get married at all. But it's cold. Natalia Stepanovna is an excellent housekeeper, not bad looking, well educated. Now he is saying all these things to himself. He is thinking the qualities which Natalia has. She is a good housekeeper, she is good looking also, she is not bad looking, and she is well educated. What more do I want? He is asking all these things to himself. Why he is asking? Because he is trying to soothe himself by telling himself that he is going to get a perfect match to marry. He is going to get a perfect girl to marry, so he should not hesitate at all. But I am getting noise in my ears from excitement, and it's impossible for me not to marry. In the first place, I am already 35, a critical age, so to speak, because 35 years is a pretty good age. You can say a person can be considered over age as far as marriage is concerned. So he says that I am already 35, it is a critical age, so to speak. In the second place, I ought to lead a quiet and regular life. I suffer from palpitations. What is palpitation? When your heart starts beating very fast. You are nervous and your heart starts beating very fast. Then it can be termed as palpitation. I am excitable and always getting awfully upset. At this very moment, my lips are trembling and there's a twitch in my right eyebrow. But the very worst of all is the way I sleep. I no sooner get into bed and begin to go off when suddenly something in my left side gives a pull, and I can feel it in my shoulder and head. I jump up like a lunatic, walk about a bit and lie down again. But as soon as I begin to get off to sleep, there's another pull, and this may happen 20 times. So he is thinking about all those peculiar things which happen to him and which happen to him very frequently, especially when he goes to sleep. He sleeps very quickly, he sleeps fast, but very soon he feels as if somebody is pulling him. Then he again stands up and sees around, he starts walking, again he comes back to his bed to sleep, but immediately again he feels that somebody is pulling him in sleep. And this happens not less than 20 times. Natalia comes in. Well, there, it's you. And Papa said, go, there's a merchant come for his goods. How do you do, Ivan Vasilevich Lomov? How do you do, honored Natalia Stepanovna? The pronunciation is very typical, children. Natalia, you must excuse my apron and negligee. Is any meaning given here, children? Let us see. The play is very lengthy also. Okay, some of the meanings are there which I am giving you today as homework. Please find them out, and in our next class we will discuss some of the word meanings also. You may excuse my apron and negligee. We are shelling peas for drying. Why haven't you been here for such a long time? Sit down. They seat to themselves. Won't you have some lunch? Lomov, no thank you. I've had some already. Natalia, then smoke. Here are the matches. The weather is splendid now. But yesterday it was so wet that the workmen didn't do anything all day. How much hay have you stocked? Just think, I felt greedy and had a whole field cut, and now I am not at all pleased about it because I am afraid my hay may rot. I ought to have waited a bit, but what's this? Why, you are in evening dress. Well, I never. Are you going to a ball or what? Ball is a dance. Are you going to a ball or what? Though I must say you look better. Tell me, why are you got up like that? That means, why have you dressed up like that? Lomov, you see, honored Natalia Stepanovna, the fact is, I have made up my mind to ask you to hear me out. Of course, you will be surprised and perhaps even angry. But it's awfully cold. Natalia, what's the matter? Well, Lomov, I shall try to be brief. You must know, honored Natalia Stepanovna, that I have long, since my childhood in fact, had the privilege of knowing your family. Now see, he is not able to tell directly this girl that I have come to ask for your hand to marry you. He is making a background first. I in fact had the privilege of knowing your family. My late aunt and her husband, from whom, as you know, I inherited my land, always had the greatest respect for your father and your late mother. The Lomovs and the Chubukovs have always had the most friendly, and I might almost say the most affectionate regard for each other. And as you know, my land is a near neighbor of yours. You will remember that my oxen meadows touch your birch woods. Natalia, excuse my interrupting you. You say my oxen meadows, but are they yours? Lomov, yes, mine. Natalia, What are you talking about? Oxen meadows are ours, not yours. Lomov. No, mine. Honored Natalia Stepanovna. Now see, their argument begins. Natalia. Well, I never knew that before. How do you make that out? Lomov. How? I am speaking of those oxen meadows which are wedged in between your birchwoods and the burnt marsh. Natalia. Yes, yes, they are ours. Lomov. No, you are mistaken. Honored Natalia Stepanovna, they are mine. Natalia. Just think, Ivan Vasilievich, how long have they been yours? Lomov. How long? As long as I remember. Natalia. Really? You won't get me to believe that. Lomov. But you can see from the documents, Honored Natalia Stepanovna, Oxen meadows, it's true, were once the subject of dispute, but now everybody knows that they are mine. There's nothing to argue about. You see, my aunt's grandmother gave the free use of these meadows in perpetuity to the peasants of your father's grandfather, in return for which they were to make bricks for her. The peasants belonging to your father's grandfather had the free use of the meadows for 40 years and had got into the habit of regarding them as their own, when it happened that. Natalia. No, it isn't at all like that. Both grandfather and great grandfather reckoned that their land extended to burnt marsh, which means that oxen meadows were ours. I don't see what there is to argue about. It's simply silly. Okay, children. Now I am stopping here because the play is quite lengthy. Now in our next class, we will start from a fresh page. Thank you, children.